Hi guys, today we're going to be working with our citrus trees. I've got a Meyer lemon and a thornless key lime tree. Both I got this spring, potted them up in terracotta pots, and I've had them out on the back patio all season long, and they have done beautifully. They were in bloom when I got them. They continued to bloom. They dropped a few leaves and blooms initially when we transplanted them. It's just that initial shock. But once they got acclimated and the weather warmed up, they started producing a bunch of fruit, and they've been ripening their fruit. We've already harvested a couple times. I think I got so far six Meyer lemons and a couple of the limes, and we still have quite a bit of fruit on both of them. But the problem is that we're starting to get cooler temperatures. Our average nighttime temperatures now, I'm in Maryland zone 7B, I guess. We were 7A, now we're 7B. So I still think we're 7A, either way. But we're starting to get down into cooler temperatures at night, consistently in the low 40s. And I think I did see one night in the next few days where we got down to 39. And citrus trees, especially the lemon and the lime trees, they prefer their ideal conditions to be above 50 and hovering right around 85 degrees with moderate humidity. So they're not, for us over here, they're not trees that we can actually plant in the ground and keep all year round. We actually have to have them as patio trees and bring them in the winter. They're both hardy in zones 9 through 11, so those are definitely much warmer than what we are, so they would never survive our winter. But in order to bring them inside, we kind of have to do a little bit of preparation. We want to go through a few steps. We want to do a little bit of inspection, a little bit of cleaning, and fertilizing, and then get them prepped and inside. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. We've got 2 trees. It shouldn't be anything too complex or crazy. Just want to water, okay, tongue twister. Just wanted to walk you guys through the steps that I'm taking in order to prepare my trees to bring inside for the winter. This is my Meyer lemon tree, and it has been doing so well, you guys. Look at all of the fruit on here. And I probably could have thinned it a little bit, but it's its first year since I've had it. So I really didn't want to do too much to it because it really did shock quite a bit. But we've got 2, 5, 6, 7. We have like a dozen lemons on here. So I am going to harvest the ones that are pretty much ripe before we get into this whole thing, just to kind of lighten the load, because I think I do want to play around with the staking of this tree, because when I did get it, it was the trunk had a crook in it, and you can see like right there, but it's already started to harden quite a bit. So I don't think that I can correct this too much, but I do want to get some support up here, because you can see it wants to just continuously lean over here. And that's just the growth of the tree plus the weight of all the fruit. But look at this. It just started blooming again. And once these bloom, you know that there's more fruit coming. So that's the thing with the key limes and the lemon trees. Because they're hardy in zones 9 through 11, they're everbearing. They bear year round. But when we bring them in, they probably will shock a little bit. So some of these blooms may get stunted, but I think under the right conditions, we should see continuous blooming and fruiting through the winter. And right over here is our thornless key lime tree. This one has a little bit more of a better shape as far as the trunk goes. It is a lot straighter, but it does have quite a bit of fruit on here. Probably, I would say, almost 2 dozen. We've got a couple that are past their ripeness, and this is what happens with key limes when you let them ripen fully on the tree. They look like little lemons, but look at all the fruit. It's just insane that these just responded so beautifully. So whatever I do to the lemon tree, I'm just going to do the exact same thing with our lime tree. And that just makes it easier all the way around. The process that we do to prep our Meyer lemon, we can repeat for the lime tree as well. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to harvest whatever lemons are ready to harvest. That way we can take some of the weight off the tree, and then we'll go step by step, and I'll just explain to you what I'm doing, show you what I'm doing, and why I'm doing it. And again, this is just me doing what I do. If you guys have any tips or tricks on winterizing or overwintering citrus trees inside, let me know in the comment section. I would really appreciate it. Isn't that beautiful? A little green on that side, but it will continue to ripen a little bit more inside. Oh, it's so exciting. I ended up harvesting 4 of the lemons on here. These were the ones that were just at peak ripeness. We still have a little bit of green, but it definitely took a little bit of weight off some of those branches. But these are just beautiful lemons, you guys. So excited. Now that we've harvested our lemons, the first thing I want to do is give the tree an overall inspection. I want to come in for a closer look. I'm going to look at all of the leaves. I'm going to turn them upside down and just check for any type of pest infestation, any type of disease. These leaves look pretty good. They're really healthy and green. We do have a few that are a little bit spotted. That's okay though. This could be just from a little bit of stress from ripening all of the fruit, or it could be just, you know, a little bit from the cooler temperatures. But I'm checking every single leaf on here and looking at both the top side and underneath, because a lot of times a lot of these pests and stuff will hide underneath the leaves. And if you see something like this where it's a little bit of discoloration and a little bit of, I don't know, like I can just kind of feel like a little bit it's raised or whatever. I don't see any type of pests or anything on here, but I will keep an eye on it. I'm checking the blooms. So pretty, it's so exciting. But yeah, it looks like a lot of these leaves are coming from closer to where the fruit is ripening. We have a leaf over here that looks like it's just aging, and that's to be expected. There's no need to panic. Everything is looking really healthy overall. Little bit of damage over here, that's okay. You know, something got on it. It's quite all right. The tree is healthy. It's able to defend itself. But again, just looking for signs of any infestations. I don't see anything. And I'm checking the trunk. Want to make sure everything is clean. There's no diseases or any funguses or anything happening. And all in all, this tree is looking really, really healthy. And now I want to go in and inspect the soil as well. Don't see too much of concern over here. Just want to check it. There's no little bit of weeds action over here. We can remove that. But all in all, I would say this tree is not looking bad at all. But preventatively, I am going to spray it down with some insecticidal soap just in case I missed anything, especially because I'm going to be bringing it inside into the grow room and introducing it to our other plants. I just want to be extra sure that I'm not bringing in a host of pests or diseases. I've got the Captain Jack's insecticidal super soap. The active ingredient in this is potassium salts of fatty acids and spinosad. It is safe for vegetables, citrus trees, nut trees, berries, and it kills a whole host of things: whiteflies, spider mites, thrips, aphids, scale, a whole bunch of stuff, and much more. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a shake and just spray it down, coating the leaves. And it's okay if it gets hit with the fruit a little bit. But I'm just doing a light little spray. And I'm making sure that I get underneath as well. And that's it, just until it starts to run off a little bit, just like that. When it starts to pool and drip down, you know you've sprayed it enough. It's thoroughly saturated. And we're gonna go underneath and spray. Okay, so now I'll just let it sit for a minute and drip dry real quick. Okay, now that we have treated the foliage and the trunk of the tree, the next step that I like to do is inspect the soil. I want to make sure that there's no pests or anything that are harboring over in this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove an inch and a half of soil from the top of the tree, from the pot. Just get rid of it all. That way, if there's any eggs or anything in here, we're just going to discard them. I'm not going to compost this. If I were composting, I wouldn't be doing that because you just don't know. So I'm going to take off the top inch and a half layer of soil real quick, because there are things potentially that our eyes can't see. And I just want to make sure again that we don't bring anything from outside inside. And I'm not a super huge fan of bringing plants inside, just because I've dealt with nasty like fungus gnat infestations and other things, and it just leads to cross-contamination with like house plants, and it's just creates a mess, a big old headache. Okay, so I've got about an inch and a half of soil removed from this container. I can start to see some surface roots. That's fine. I'm going to discard this. All right, I brought you in a little closer so you can see that the soil level line is down about an inch and a half. So now I want to treat this soil before I add fresh soil. What I'm going to be adding is Natrol. Natrol is Bacillus thuringiensis, BT, but the substrain for this in particular is Israelensis, and that is what targets fungus gnats, their larvae and their eggs. So what we want to do is just sprinkle a little generous amount throughout the top layer. So what happens is when we water it, it will dissolve into the soil, and if there's any eggs in here that hatch, once the larvae start to ingest the BT, they will die. So that is preventative measure number one, or number two. Number one was spraying our foliage. Just gonna scratch this in a little bit. Not necessary. We are gonna be topping it with potting soil. So now before I top this off with fresh potting soil, I wanna fertilize it a little bit. So I'm going to be using Citrus Tone. I've got Citrus Tone right here in a little Ziploc baggie. I've got a little extra that didn't fit in my little buckets. So I'm just going to take some fertilizer and just sprinkle it on the outermost edge of the container. And I'm going to be using probably 3 to 4 teaspoons of fertilizer. It's a slow release fertilizer, so it will last a few months. And I think the last time that I fertilized this was probably in June or July. So it's definitely going to need a feeding. But we don't want to overload it and tax it too much. But again, it is organic, so it's not going to hurt it. Now I'm just going to scratch this in a little bit. Now I'm ready to top this up with some fresh potting soil. When I initially planted this in the spring, I used the cactus and succulent mix, and the one thing I noticed about that is it is extremely well draining, almost a little too much. I was finding that I was having to water this very frequently, probably every other day. Now inside, because it's going to be in the winter, we're going to have the heat on and it's going to be a lot drier in there. Even though I'm going to be running a humidifier, I still want the soil to retain a little bit more moisture. So I'm going to be topping it up with potting soil instead of the cactus and succulent mix. So I've got some here, and all we're going to do is just top it up. And our fertilizer and our Natrol are all underneath. This tree's going to be so happy. It's kind of getting a bath and it's getting fed and tucked in for the winter. Now again, remember, these trees are ever bearing and they do bloom and fruit all year long if the conditions are right. So because we're going to be putting this inside and under a pretty powerful grow light, it should hopefully continue to fruit or bloom and fruit after probably a little bit of transplant shock. I always expect a little bit of transplant shock whenever I mess with a plant's home. Okay, so now I've got a nice fresh layer of potting mix on top. You'll notice I didn't bring it all the way up to the rim. I always like to leave at the very least a ½ inch from the lip. That way when we water it, it doesn't spill over. And this will settle a bit, so I anticipate it'll probably go down to like 3/4 inch. Okay. So lastly, what I like to do is I like to treat the container as well. So what I'm going to do now that we're all done with our soil and topping it all up, I'm going to just brush off with a paper towel any excess soil that is stuck to the outside of the pot, any debris from being outside all season long, and I'm going to gently tip it and wipe underneath. And I'm also going to look underneath very carefully. It's a balancing act, you guys. Just make sure that there's nothing hiding under here. We don't want any hitchhikers when we bring this inside. So I like to be super duper thorough and careful. Some may say it's in excess, but I figure a little bit of extra prevention could save us quite a bit of headache later. Okay, so that looks pretty clean now. Now I'm going to remove my gloves because I don't want to get this dirty again. And I'm going to spray the container with the insecticidal soap as well. All the way around. And underneath. Okay, now I'm just going to let this dry a little bit and then we'll move on to the lime tree. While we're waiting for the container to dry, let's take a quick overall look at the tree and just run through what we did. So initially we came in, we harvested some of the lemons to take some of the weight off of the tree. We did a cursory inspection of the foliage. We checked the top side of the leaves, the underside, the stems, the trunk, made sure everything was clean. Then we came in with a preventative application of insecticidal soap, covered the entire tree, all of the foliage, top and bottom, the trunk, until it was running off and dripping. We waited for that to dry. Then we came in and took the top inch and a half of potting soil. We took it out, removed it, discarded it, inspected the soil to make sure we didn't see any pests or any fungal issues. Then I came in and added an application of Natrol, which is going to prevent and fight against white flies. It attacks the larva, they ingest it and it kills them, so that's always a good thing. And then we came in with a little application of fertilizer, topped it off with some fresh potting soil, and then lastly we cleaned off our container, did another inspection of the container itself, including underneath, and then we gave the container an application of the insecticidal soap just in case there was anything hiding anywhere. We don't want to bring any hitchhiking pests inside. Now we're just waiting for the container to dry before we bring it upstairs and put it under the grow lights, where it's going to stay for the winter until we're ready to bring it back out here in the spring once the fear of frost has passed. So that's my step-by-step process on how I like to winterize my citrus trees to bring them inside for the winter. I'm going to work on the key lime next, and then when Mo gets here, we'll take them both upstairs, get them situated in the grow room, and I'll show you where they're going to stay for the winter and the grow light that I'm going to be using on them. All right, guys, I was able to get them up to the grow room by myself. So here is where they are going to stay for the winter. I've got them right here in the corner, right next to this window, which faces east, and it's right next to our grow light system. And here they are, tucked in the corner. I've got the lemon tree on some casters, and I've got a little plastic saucer to catch any water that goes through the bottom of the container and into the plastic saucer. Same thing with the lime tree, except I don't have it on casters yet. I have one outside, but I need to clean it off. But it does have a little plastic saucer just in case we water it and water comes through to the bottom. This is where they're going to be. And they're not too crowded with each other. They're just barely crisscrossing a little bit. And this is the grow light that I got specifically for them. It's from Best VA. And man, is this thing bright. I'll turn it on in a second. I found the grow light on Amazon. It's from Best VA. They have 4 different models, the DC 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000. I got the 4000 model and it's a little bit longer and wider. I wanted the light output to be as broad as possible. That way the trees got light all the way around. But the thing that I like about this grow light is there's 2 different settings. If I can get over here so you can see. So we have a vegetative setting, and right over here we have a bloom setting. So if you wanted to work on just like your seedlings and starts, you would set it for vegetative. If you wanted it to bloom, or your trees are blooming, much like our lemon tree is already starting to bloom, you would turn on the bloom stage. Now, because this is blooming and fruiting, we would turn on both the vegetative and the bloom stage. Let me get up in here. There they are. So I'm going to turn on the vegetative state. Oof, that's quite bright. And I'm going to turn on the bloom stage. And it gets even brighter. And it's got built-in fans at the top of it too. I'm trying to show you guys overhead, but there's 3 fans, 3 exhaust fans that help cool the unit. But let me stand back and you can see this thing does put out quite a bit of light. And the coverage looks really good. Looks like every leaf is getting light. Oh, so excited for this. This is a very powerful and bright LED grow light, but you can see that all of the foliage, the blooms, and the fruit, they're all getting hit with the light, which is exactly what I wanted, because obviously nothing compares to natural sunlight, but if I can mimic it as much as possible indoors for the winter, hopefully we don't have too much transplant shock and they can continue on with their fruiting and blooming. And then next spring, again, once we're clear from frost, we can bring them outside again. Now I am going to come in and water these now that they're upstairs in their permanent home for the winter. I didn't want to water them outside because that would have just doubled the weight. There's no way I would have been able to get these in here by myself. Plus it would have made a mess with water just coming out of the bottom. So lastly, real quick, I've got the grow light hooked up to this, which is on a timer. So the grow light will come on automatically with our other grow light system. It usually comes on around 4 in the morning and it shuts off around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So it will get quite a bit of sun during the day. And then the beauty is that it's on a timer, so I don't have to worry about it. I'll just check on them. Look at that. Oh, it's so exciting. All right, guys, we're back outside since I still have to clean up my work area, but that grow light upstairs is really bright and powerful. And I wanted to get the fan going in there because I noticed the humidity was getting a little high up there. It was hovering around 62, 63, which typically it stays around 50, 55% humidity, which the lemon and the lime trees like. But I know that once we turn on the central heat, when it gets colder outside, the air is going to dry. But I do have a little portable humidifier in that room, so I can regulate the humidity manually, which it's really not that big a deal. But that grow light is really intense. And again, I wanted something that was bright enough, but where it cast a large spread so that all of the foliage and everything all the way around each tree was exposed to light. And I think that grow light is hopefully going to be the trick for wintering it over. Again, I just got it a few weeks ago. I have no experience with it. I will put a link to it in the description box if you guys want to check it out. But again, I just kind of did a quick search on Amazon and read a lot of the ratings and just, I don't know, I kind of landed on that one. I thought that one, it seemed to be pretty well built. I like the fact that you could adjust the light based on what you were doing. If you were starting seedlings again, you want to do vegetative. If your flowers or your trees are blooming, you click on the bloom. And then if they're doing both, you click both of them. And it's got the 3 fans in there, the 3 cooling fans. The only thing I think I would like for that so far would be the straps that hook onto the ceiling mount. I would like for them to be adjustable because eventually, you know, probably next season, the lime tree is going to be too close to the light. So I'm going to need to raise that grow light higher up towards the ceiling to give the tree a little bit of room so it's not touching the lights, because you don't want to burn it, and you just want to make sure that it gets enough light and it mimics the outdoors as closely as possible. So I will keep you guys updated throughout the winter season, let you know how they're doing, if they shock, if they freak out. I know last year when I had them, I brought them outside for a little bit, then we ended up with a cold snap, so I brought them in and they totally freaked out. They were dropping blooms all over the place. And I was kind of concerned. I thought we weren't going to get any fruit or anything aside from what came with it. But once they got out here and acclimated to the outdoors, they took off. So I'm hoping by trying to mimic the outdoors, indoors, I don't shock them too much. So I am going to water them in. I'm going to water them in also using the Natural. The Natural you can actually use in your watering can because it dissolves in water. And I use that a lot on all of the houseplants. So I'm going to use that when I water them in. And I'm going to water them in slowly and just keep an eye on them just to see how long the soil holds moisture indoors versus outdoors. Because again, the airflow, the light, the humidity, it's totally different upstairs inside than it is outside. So I'll keep an eye on it and see how often I have to monitor it, make sure I don't overflow it. But that's what those plastic saucers were for, just to kind of catch any overflow. And I don't think they're going to be permanent. I will probably put some glazed saucers underneath, but I just wanted to get them inside, indoors, before they were exposed to too much continuously cold weather and we started to like stress them out a little too much. So again, I'll keep you guys updated on this whole process. I'm just glad we were able to get it done before that 39-degree night came in. So anyways, that is it for our video today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.